r/AskReddit by LaughWithMEmes. What is a time when you really weren't supposed to laugh, but just couldn't help yourself? Grandpa's funeral. He had a bumper sticker on the bathroom mirror that said "Old fishermen never die." They just smell like that. I started chuckling and losing the fight to suppress it when my brother asked me what was wrong with me. I whispered the phrase in his ear. Soon our whole row, right behind Grandma, was snorting and chuffing. She turned to give a few of us the stink eye when my brother whispered it in her ear. She froze, then turned back to face forward. Soon her shoulders were shaking as she fought the giggles along with the rest of us. After the service she told us Grandpa would have loved knowing what that bumper sticker caused. I was in dental school. We were placing 2 implants on this 70-something-old veteran guy. I was just assisting. Placing dental implants is like screwing in a lag bolt. First you drill a hole in the bone, then you screw in the implant. The dentist who was doing the procedure was drilling the hole into the bone and he just about got the drill as deep as he wanted it, but the bone hardened up and the drill was slowing down. He looks at me and says, "The bone is just too hard down there." We still have the drill in the guy's mouth, but he starts flapping it up and down and making noises like he wants to say something. The dentist pulls the drill out of his bone and the patient immediately blurts out, "That's what she said." The dentist and I just looked at each other and bust up laughing. It's one of my favorite experiences from working on someone. My dad's funeral. The service had ended. We are standing in front of the church, waiting for his casket to be walked down some steps. I started to chuckle. I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if they dropped it and he fell out like in the movie Fatso? I told my mom, and she giggled at that thought as well. It was a much needed break from the sadness. Dad actually likes that movie as well, so he would have laughed at the thought as well. I was at summer camp as a kid, and one of the other kids there seemed to have a slight developmental impairment. There was a fly buzzing around his head, and he smacked himself in the forehead as hard as he could to try to kill the fly. He missed the fly and knocked himself backwards off the bench. I had to walk away, but I was laughing so hard I could barely see. Edited because words. During 6th form art lessons my teacher got angry. He had a habit of ranting, getting angry with his own rants, then blowing up. It was quite the entertaining spectacle. One time he was pissed off at the class for taking the afternoon so lightly. He angrily ranted his way into his deep passion of art, then stated, "When I see this rock, I don't see a rock. I see art. It drives me. It turns me on." Well, in the silent pause that followed as he realized his phrasing, I let out a single sharp snigger which erupted the class into hysterics. He nearly chucked me off the course. My best friend called me saying that she just pulled the plug on her father and he passed away. I have known this man for years, and he was practically part of my family. After she told me what it was like to pull the plug, and she was sobbing, I only knew one way to ease the tension, so I asked her, "Have you tried turning him off and on again?" She laughed while sobbing, and as did I. OMG. You're the kind of friend I need. Dark humor is appreciated. We were watching a video about black rights in class and the guy in the video said hello and asterisk KS in a really formal voice and I cracked up a little. I got in trouble. I go to a English public school, which is an American's equivalent of a private school. LMAO, I'm laughing inappropriately at work just from reading this comment. Took my GF to the ballet. Not really my cup of tea, but she was a dancer and knew she'd enjoy it. Surprisingly got quite into it as it went on until someone in the audience let out a supersonic fart. We were easily 20 rows away and felt the shockwaves as it blew past us. We both looked at each other and tried not to laugh, but we broke down in full hysterics. Weirdly, we got more dirty looks and a worse reaction than the farter. I'm so glad you posted, because it reminded me of a nearly forgotten memory. So my mom really loves old churches and classical music, and one day I found this article about some local orchestra putting on a charity show at this old cathedral about 2 hours away. We get dressed up really nice, have a great dinner together, and go into the very somber Catholic church filled with super rich people coming to see this orchestra perform and donate tons of money. Now, me and my mom are completely out of our element here, but everyone is nice, and we end up getting these excellent seats. We are sitting in front of these 2 old women, dripping in elaborate jewelry sets and terrible perfume. They are old money rich, and they look it, head to toe, and even in the way they sit and frown at everyone. At one point there is a little musical duel between an oboe and a violin. These two performers were going at it with full intensity in their faces and bodies just look weird. The oboist has this funky turkey neck, meets toad thing going on, and the violinist is doing these absurd little wiggles as she plays, and my mom and I just lose it at the same time. A good 3 minutes goes by of us trying to stifle laughter, and I have actual tears running down my face, and I finally can't take it anymore. I excuse myself, and practically run to the bathroom, shaking with laughter. I expected my mom would settle down after I left, but just as I'm leaving the stall, the door slams open and my mom comes in hysterics, snorting and crying with laughter, which of course sets me off again. Finally, we get control of ourselves, and I start apologizing, telling her about the oboist, and she tells me about the violinist at practically the same time. She then tells me the best thing ever. The two women behind us see me leave, and one of them says, "Well, I've never seen such a young person so moved by music. I've decided, Alice, I will donate tonight. I will donate $10,000 to this church, $10,000 to the band, and another $5,000 to whatever school that girl goes to, so I can fund their music program." The woman leans forward to talk to my mom, but my mom just runs off to the bathroom. The old ladies find us later on that night, compliment us for our great passion and actually offer to pay the money to my school. I felt so guilty, I refused and asked her to instead offer it to one of the young musicians that had attended the performance, and as far as I know, she did. My mom and I never saw the end of the show, but walked around the church's garden until the performance was over. We started giggling every time we came near the doors and had to turn around. We have since swore to never go anywhere fancy together ever again because we seriously can't handle it. My cousin, during her dad's funeral, the preacher said something along the lines of, "If Uncle could say something to every one of you today, it would be to accept Jesus into your hearts." Yeah, that would be one of the absolute last things anyone would expect Uncle to say to anyone ever. I was sitting behind her, and she snorted/snickered really loudly, and her mom responded in kind, but tried to stifle it somewhat. I think about that a lot. My cousin is awesome. I got another one. At my granddad's funeral, the woman giving his eulogy called his Japanese wife, whose name is Sayoko, Sudoku. Quite a few of us laughed, but a lot of people really didn't see the funny side. Every time someone tells an obvious lie on the witness stand, a blast of air escapes my nostrils before I can stifle it. Judges really don't like that. Are you a lawyer? Bet you deal with that all the time. Not a lawyer. I just studied law and offered free assistance and information to vulnerable defendants who were being railroaded by our crooked court system. My mom was crying out an apology for not recognizing my autism and other mental illnesses/disorders sooner. In the middle of her long apology, she sobbed out, "I just thought you were socially retarded." There were a few reasons I lost it at that. Sad story of my sister-in-law being a victim of the opioid crisis. She loved life and had a dark sense of humor. I was with my wife and her parents at the funeral home going over the details. My mother-in-law pulls out her checkbook to write the check for the funeral director. It is check number 666. We all have a good laugh. Sil would have loved it. The director didn't know what to make of us. I was in outpatient treatment and there was a kid who was pretty introverted. He didn't really talk to anyone, always had a hood up, went out of his way to never interact with anyone. Socially kind of awkward. Anyway, there was a girl going on and on about how she doesn't trust other females and only hangs out with guys, r/not like a third-year-olds etc. Anyway, she's going on and on and on, and all of a sudden this kid stands up and just screams at her to shut the fuck up. We were all kind of taken aback, and she of course snapped back all ghetto, and he finally turned to rush out of the room, and ended up tripping on a chair and flailing to the ground. I fucking lost it. I was trying so hard to keep it together, but the whole situation was so absurd, and then how dramatically he tripped just sent me over the edge. I thought other people were going to find it as funny, but they were just kind of shocked. Another time I was in a mall food court and these two girls broke out in a fight, and one of the girls had a decorative cookie tin you get at Christmas and started wailing on the other girl with it. I was dying laughing, and their friends were crying and freaking out. It sounded like a bunch of birds going apeshit. Please like and subscribe for more. This is Laugh with Memes. Goodbye.